things for the E36 M3 track car are picking up speed. I ordered a ton of parts on Black Friday, pretty much everything I needed to have the car ready to go for its first track day. But while we're waiting on those parts, we're actually going to be refreshing some parts that I picked up for the car probably like 6 months ago. And that would be these KW Clubsport coilovers. What we got going on today is we're just going to be refreshing this. We're going to be replacing some of the parts that were old and worn and damaged. And then we're going to get this suspension ready to go on the car while everything else that I ordered is coming in. So enough talking, let's get into refreshing the suspension. Here we go. If you're new here, this is my 1997 E36 M3 that I'm currently in the process of building and getting ready for its very first track day. And that brings us here. These are my new to me KW Clubsport coilovers with Eibach rear springs, H&R tender springs, as well as ground control weight jacks. Now, like I said just a minute ago, I picked these parts up over 7 months ago, and ever since, they've been sitting and collecting dust. But seeing how I have nearly every other part I feel like I need in order for the M3 to officially be track ready, I figured now is as good a time as any to pull these out and finally knock the dust off of them, figuratively and literally. Now, if it isn't obvious at this point, these were in fact used before I ever got around to purchasing everything. In fact, I was told that they were rather well loved prior to my ownership, meaning these were definitely used and abused several times on track. And later in the episode, if you decide to stick around, I'll show you just how true that ended up being. But for now, the goal is to clean and assess what it will take to make these road-worthy again. Now, I do quickly want to clarify in case anyone is feeling particularly inclined to ask or comment on why I decided to purchase old, arguably beat up coilovers for my track car, as opposed to, say, simply purchasing something new. For starters, I get it. I completely understand that the obvious and most practical option would have been to purchase a brand new coilover system. And to that argument, I almost did, on several occasions. I was weighing my options on a few different brands when these popped up for sale only about an hour away from me. Now, the reason I opted for these over, say, another brand or even just lower spec KWs was primarily for two reasons. First, I've never been on track myself, ever, like not even a single time. And with that means I have an exceptional amount of things to learn, not only as a driver, but with the car once it's ready to head to the track at some point in the near future. And I figured it made more sense to purchase something that has not only been track tested by previous owners, but has the ability to let me evolve and learn as a driver with the benefit of genuine two-way adjustability. Now, admittedly, these coilovers in particular are probably a bit overkill for my skill level starting off, but don't forget, I mentioned that there were two reasons why I decided on going through with buying this setup. And the second is because of the fact that should anything ever happen to these coilovers, or if they ever start to fail, I could send any of it back to KW and they'll either rebuild them or send me replacements for significantly cheaper than I'd buy them new. So essentially, I'll always be able to run the suspension setup indefinitely for significantly cheaper than it would cost to run another coilover setup that, if were to ever fail, I'd likely have to purchase another brand new set outright anyways. Now pair the fact that these should hopefully long outweigh my skill level on track, at least in the beginning, as well as the fact that KW has a rebuild program, but also consider that I bought the highest spec coilover system that KW makes for the E36 platform, and also that this kit came with linear Eibach rear springs paired with H&R tender springs and ground control weight jacks, all of which I purchased for less than half of what these same parts would cost new. In my eyes, I'd say it was a very clear decision to pay for this used and abused setup. Alright, so I told you guys that if you stuck around till later in the video, I'd show you just how well loved these coilovers were at some point in their past. Now, really quick, I'm going to show you a little 5-second clip of me tearing this coilover apart, and I want to see if you guys could spot the point at which something is very obviously wrong with these coilovers. So here we go, I'm going to play the clip. Did you catch it? Alright, in case you didn't, let me show you what I'm talking about. So essentially, as I was taking these coilovers apart, or at least the second one, the first one went flawlessly. As you guys saw throughout the beginning part of this video, that was the first coilover I worked on, and I guess
thankfully, because had I started with this, I would have been really worried about that one, and you know, I may not have even touched that one until later on. But the fact of the matter is, when I was taking this coilover apart, essentially you take the camber plate off, you know, take the top nut that goes to the spherical bearing right here, you take this off, and then once this comes off, you could take the spring and everything off. But the pieces that sandwich between the spring and this spherical bearing right here, pretty much everything till you get to the spring is damaged. Everything is caved in. Everything has like a kind of, it's like conical shaped now. And on my other coilover, everything is perfectly flat and not this shape. And so I, you know, kind of got again that coilover is the baseline, and I now know what isn't good anymore. And so, yeah, these coilovers were definitely well loved, like I said. I'm not exactly sure how that happens. I'm sure maybe just repetitive use, maybe, you know, one specific track on one specific corner at, you know, one specific corner of the car, obviously. Maybe something like this ends up happening. But regardless, I do want to note and again kind of further emphasize the point I made earlier in the video about why I decided to buy these versus a brand new set of coilovers. As of right now filming this, all of the parts that are broken and in need of replacement have already been ordered. I was already able to contact KW. I got through to them first time trying to call them, spoke with the gentleman for probably about 15 minutes and got all of these parts ordered up that I need, and everything should be here in a few weeks. And so I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case with every coilover company, but I did know that going into buying KWs that was the case, and that's what I said earlier in the video about how if any of this fails or any of it should start to fail, I could send it into KW or get replacements for significantly cheaper than I could buy maybe replacements for another brand, or even just overall having to buy a whole new set of coilovers in general. But yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. I thought I'd show you guys, just like I said, how loved these coilovers were at some point. I'm calling it well loved. Some of you might call it used and abused, but nonetheless, let's wrap this video up. All right, to say that I'm excited to finally get around to putting these on the E36 would be putting it lightly. Like I said in the beginning of the video, I've had these coilovers for over 7 months now, and every single day I walk past them and couldn't wait to get them on the car, to be honest. But now that, you know, I finished the wrap, which you guys could watch all of that if you haven't seen it yet. Now that the wrap is done, I'm trying to really dial in and focus on getting the car ready for the track. And first step was preparing these coilovers, because as you guys saw, they were filthy. Part of them were definitely trashed. And so I'm excited to be making progress, and I'm excited to have those parts on order so I can get these coilovers wrapped up and finally thrown on the car. And so, yeah, this is kind of just scratching the surface. I have a ton of parts that I ordered over Black Friday, like I said in the beginning of the video, and that stuff should be rolling in pretty soon. And a lot of it's pretty cool. I'm excited to kind of document that part of the build, but if you don't want to miss it, definitely consider subscribing. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on this video. If any of you watching right now to this point in the video have watched any of my previous videos, you could probably tell I'm trying something new. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts. I kind of want these videos, or episodes rather, I'm trying to make them be more like episodes. I want people to tune in and be excited about the progress. I don't want to do as much of the like how-tos and DIYs anymore personally. But you know, if that's what you want, let me know. But nonetheless, trying something new. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And if by chance this is your first video on my channel, first of all, welcome. Thank you for watching to this point. But second, consider subscribing, please. This is kind of what I'm trying to roll out from here on out. And like I said, I have a ton of parts for the E36 M3 on their way. Not only that, but I have my E92 M3. If you guys haven't seen that yet, definitely check out some of my previous videos. But I'm not done with that car. I have stuff planned for that as well. But anyways, enough rambling. If you guys made it to this part of the episode, definitely consider subscribing, liking. Like I said, let me know your thoughts and turn on post notifications so you don't miss future uploads. And I appreciate you checking it out, and I will catch you guys in the next episode. Peace.